What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Scream 6. Now, I'm not done with my content on Scream 5 or Scream 2022. I have plenty of other videos discussing a lot of different aspects, some ranking videos on this movie, so we got a lot still to talk about, but I wanted to get this out of my system, get this out here, maybe beat other people to the punch here. But I had some ideas, and my wife even had some really good ideas as well for Scream 6, or that whatever. At this point, no idea what they would actually call this film, but the next Scream movie. So, number one, this is obviously going to contain massive spoilers. So if you don't want to know about Scream 6, that means you probably haven't seen Scream 5, so turn away now. And obviously this is wholly off of the idea that they're going to get another movie, which really, in my opinion, depends a lot on the box office, which I hope will be, just fine. So let's just jump into it. I really think, and I said this, or I was thinking this, I guess, as the movie was going on. My wife had talked about it to me as well, and I really think they set up Sam really nicely. Now, I said this in my review, I've said this other places, I do not think Sam was the best character. I think she's actually the second weakest survivor of the, if you look at Chad, you look at Mindy, you look at Tara, and you look at Sam. I think Chad's probably the weakest, and then Sam, and then I would say Mindy and Tara are maybe even tied or up there. So I didn't absolutely love Sam, but I definitely didn't, not like her or hate her. I think she was definitely solid, but I actually think other people stole the movie in their scenes over her. But the seed of potential was planted in the story of Sam, in their parents' story, and who Sam is as a person, in a way that we've never truly seen that before, right? Because what we're effectively doing here is leaving the film with these two final girl sisters, right? Sam and Tara, where Sam really isn't in the greatest, she takes pills, right? So she's not in the greatest mindset, sees hallucinations of her serial killer father, and goes along with him. Now, there's a lot of people, I guess, going into the conclusion that Billy, they almost kind of retcon him into kind of like a hero. I understand why people would think that. I'd like to believe that's not what they're doing. I'd like to believe it was more like he's just trying to, it's his daughter, so he's just trying to protect her mentally. Also, you have to remember, it's Sam thinking it, you know what I mean? So, in a way, you are going to do things to try to protect yourself or to keep yourself going. So, there is obviously very much signs of rage in Billy, including, which I just noticed, okay, or I just thought about, in the car, the second time you see Billy, he literally ends the sequence by saying, let's get out there and cut some throats. And what's the last thing Sam does in this movie to a killer? She slices Richie's throat, which A, is very brutal, and we've never really seen that brutality at all from anybody who's ever killed Ghostface. And number two, that's exactly what Billy said in the car, which I didn't notice originally, but I noticed now. You also have, skipping to the end, the amount of stabs that Sam, very reminiscent really of Amber or any killer in the past that's had a stabbing spree, maybe like a Mrs. Loomis, right? She stabs Richie a lot. She's very unhinged. I mean, there's really no other way of putting it. And final thing is, once she's done, she cleans off the knife in a way we've seen many, many times Ghostface doing, including the flash sequence at the end of Scream 2022. At the very end, we see, Ghostface cleaning the knife in front of, Stu's house, which we saw in the promotional pictures. Remember, that was a promotional picture, and that's exactly what... Now, that's a classic Ghostface thing. I'm not saying, oh, look, it's exactly what Sam did, but it is. And, and the thing is, nobody else has done that before. So, I guess what I'm saying here in regards to the future of this movie, I know I've spent a lot of time talking about Sam, but the idea here, I think, is that you can really go a dark, dark way with Sam. If there was ever a time to flip the script big time, and maybe it works, maybe it fails, maybe it completely fails, but to have Sam go down the route of being a killer, I think it's possible. You have Billy in her head. Now, yes, it depends on exactly what direction, which, by the way, I'd imagine this almost solidifies 100% Skeet Ulrich also comes back for the next one. You know what I mean? Because she didn't banish him from, it's, it wasn't I'm moving on past these hallucinations, you're not real, you're not with me anymore. No, not really at all. It's kind of he's definitely still there. She is going to have these mental troubles. In fact, she even asks Sydney if she's going to be okay, probably because she feels she probably won't be okay for a while. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of potential for this almost split personality of herself, or as Billy in her head, to get in her head and mess with her. She already has exhibited bouts of rage and like extreme, measures, including slitting Richie's throat. And the way even she says it, I believe the final line is Richie's like, "What about my ending?" And she says, "Here it comes." And she says it very like evil, like, and here it comes as she slices his throat. I mean, it's extreme. It's very extreme. And I mean, you would never see somebody like, and then obviously she shoots him multiple times as well with the gun afterwards. I mean, like, Sydney never came across like that ever. You know what I mean? And she's the primary, Ghostface killer. So I really think, again, it may fail, but if there's a chance to make 6 or Scream 2 or, whatever it is, and you almost flip it, because I think Jenna Ortega is actually better. I actually think Tara's a better character. I think Jenna Ortega is the better actress of the two. That's just, my opinion on these two actresses. I don't think either of them were bad, or I don't think Melissa Barrera is bad, but I do think Jenna Ortega is better. And also, yes, in movie time, they're 5 years apart, but in real life, they're 13 years apart. Melissa Barrera is 31, Jenna Ortega is 18. So Jenna Ortega is the youngest of that entire group of Mindy, of Chad. Even if you go to Liv or Amber or Wes, any of them, she's the youngest actress or actor of the group. Okay, so even from like an age logistic perspective, it actually would make sense to, if you want to do a quick thing where you almost flipped it and you had Sam go off the rails and Tara be the only final girl, right? Instead of two of them, just her. I think that actually makes a ton of sense. So I'm almost rooting for that idea because, maybe there's not even a 6, maybe it ends here. But I definitely think you've planted the seed that she is way more brutal and way more unhinged. Like, Sydney had hallucinations, but that was kind of, that was it. It's not like she questioned her, her sanity or, well, I guess that is hallucinations, but she didn't go off the rails like that. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. The other only aspect I can think of, right? 2 things. Number one, it's pretty clear they're going to leave Woodsboro. That was the whole goal of Sam, the entire movie, was to, not go back, then go back, but just, get in, get out, get Tara and leave. And then even at the end, Tara says, like, when we go to a different hospital, that's obviously a joke at, like the last hospital wasn't very safe. But I also think it was further evidence that they're out. Makes sense. Scream 1 was in Woodsboro. Scream 2 left it to go to the college, right? Scream 3 went to Hollywood. Scream 4 went back to Woodsboro again. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Scream 2 to be just at a different town, a different city entirely, which could eliminate Gail and Sydney. Man, that's a tough one. I actually want to talk about that. I won't even mention, Gail and Sydney. We'll talk about that in future videos. I definitely don't think they're done. I think they easily could come back, but if they didn't want to, you could easily leave them, off. And maybe it doesn't make sense to bring them back for the next one. Maybe they save them for the final movie in the trilogy and the final Scream movie of all time, right? I mean, maybe you could do that. That's a little bit harder to predict, but I would predict that the next movie is not in that little town, okay? And in terms of the next, grouping, if it's not going to be Sam, which, I would like it if it is, but if it's not, that's okay too. If they wanted to do something reminiscent of 2, they could have a relative or somebody like that of Amber or Richie come after them. Now, that would be very derivative, as Sydney would say in this movie. That'd be very derivative of Scream 2, right? So you had like Mrs. Loomis, which was tied to Billy. It was just a simple revenge story, and that could easily happen here. Or the other thing that they did leave out, in my opinion, very purposely, was really the parents. So their mom is alive, but she's like a drunk. She's not really around. She didn't even answer the call to find out that Tara got attacked, right? I believe Amber said that in the hospital. So she's like a no-good mother, right? But she is still around. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know how you can necessarily work that, but there's another person, right? The father. So the father is Tara's father, but not Sam's, right? Because Sam's is Billy, and then they had Tara with the new father. And the father booked it, I believe, when Sam was 13 and when Tara was 8, which in movie terms, they're 23 and 18 now. So 10 years ago, from when this Scream 5 happened, 10 years ago, the dad left. I could very easily see the dad coming back in. Now, again, I don't really know what reasons. I mean, the dad maybe a little bit more because it's like, well, my illegitimate daughter, or like Sam, the daughter I thought was my daughter, but it's not. Her father is Billy Loomis, and that's kind of an issue, and she kind of has this rage, so maybe I'll go after her to like stop her. I mean, it would definitely be a little difficult to make it be the parents, or have anything to do with the parents, but that I think specifically with the dad, considering he left, they never even said his name, you know what I mean? There's just nothing there. I think very easily you could do something with that. So, again, I think the best option, or definitely the most outrageous, the one that's got the biggest potential, but also the biggest, potential of failure would truly be make Sam the killer. It's never been done. It would be so off the rails. It'd be so wild. Maybe it fails, but maybe it works really, really well. And I mean, you have it. You know what I mean? You have these two. They're sisters. You could create serious. Because Tara was attacked multiple times. I'm sure that'll cause trauma. But I don't know. And her dad left, so I guess she does have family trauma, and her mom's not very good. But to have her sister flip on her. Now, I guess what I don't want is some over the top, this good versus evil kind of. Which it has its place. It definitely has its place in movies. But the idea that maybe in the next movie, in Scream 2, Sam goes off the rails or goes evil, and then she kind of fights back against it, and she's, it's a Billy in her head, and she keeps saying I'm not like you, I'm not gonna do it. So almost like she is Ghostface, but then she kind of turns herself in, or she stops doing it because she kind of banishes Billy from her mind. I think that would be pretty dumb to do in a movie series like this. I think it just makes a lot more sense to just kind of go all the way or not do it at all. And so that's my best guess. Final option, and this is just a very quick throw-in. A lot of people are still throwing around Stu's name, literally Stu Macher, and I guess the only thing I'll give is that because you brought Billy back in hallucination form, I do think it's possible at some point you could maybe do the same thing for Stu, or Stu's place could still exist, but it's such a slim, at this point, it is such a slim window. And I think the idea here was really, to obviously, even it was really the motive of the movie, right? To bring these legacy characters back, obviously going after all these people connected to the past, but then really establishing its own thing going forward. So I don't know if bringing Stu makes any sense at all, but I got to give an honorable mention to that, of course. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What would you do for the next movie, or would you just end it here? That's definitely an option as well. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon. All my social media, if you want to follow me anywhere else, Twitter, my second channel, Patreon, or YouTube memberships. Links for them all are in the description below. Thank you for watching. More Scream content coming very, very soon, and I hope to see you guys there.